The average solo GP is dead. Being handcuffed to a practice that only makes money while you're drilling crushes your freedom. Being trapped at the office is no way to experience life. And doing more fillings and crowns ain't the answer to freedom. Stop it. Freedom comes when your practice makes money without you. Freedom is choosing how many days and how you dental. Ready to forge your freedom? Then keep listening to become a super GP and super CEO. This is the Titanium Practice Podcast with your host, Dr. Stephen Freeman. Let's go.
Hello, all you beautiful people out there, and welcome to what's sure to be the best episode of the Titanium Practice Podcast yet. I'm your host and personal freedom coach, Dr. Stephen Freeman. How y'all doing today? I am super amped about today's episode, and we'll see if it ends up dragging long enough to be a two-parter or not. But first things first, a little bit of housekeeping here. If you will, please hit that subscribe button if you like what you're hearing, and if you can, leave us a review. I'd love to know your feedback on the podcast. Really helps in getting us ranked higher. And also, if you'll head on over to titaniumpractice.com and sign up for our Insiders newsletter. It goes out at the beginning of the month, so we can keep you informed with all the things that I've got going for you that I can't fit into all of these podcasts for you, okay? So titaniumpractice.com for the Insider, and then if you can hit the like and subscribe button for the podcast, really appreciate it. Really helps us out. So on with today's show. So, dude, I am telling you, I am going to talk to you about really quickly, back in the early 90s, a lot of you will remember this thing called Laserdisc. And so Laserdisc, for those of you who don't know, was the transition between cassette tapes, which some of you may not even know what those are, and DVDs. So they were so cool because all we had ever known as kids were these blocks that you could watch the movies on and record things on. But I mean, at the time, that's all we had. We had those cassettes, and then there was like Beta versus VHS, and my family was a Beta family, but everyone else is VHS family, so my dad bet on the loser, even though those Beta machines are going for thousands of dollars online now. But when Laserdisc came out, it was this shiny disc, and they were huge. They were larger than a large record. But they were so cool because it was so different than anything else that had come before it. Having said that, they were really only in the sun for about, we'll say, 10 years. I never really looked it up, but it felt like it was around for a fairly short amount of time. But you knew when you looked at it that it was absolutely revolutionary. You knew that this looks like the future, but like I'm talking like 1992 at the time of what you thought about what the future was going to look like. And it was the epitome of coolness at the time. And this is back in the time, back when TVs were, big TVs were 36 inches large. But anyways, aside from that trip down memory lane there, my point for bringing this up is there is a piece of machinery in a lot of your offices right now that was the cool thing at the time, and it has seen its day in the sun, and it was just murdered this weekend. It was unbelievable what I saw, and I've kind of gotten into this for a little while now, but Sprint Ray just released their Midas printing, or released the details, I should say, on their Midas 3D printer for crowns. Dude, this just, what is it? April 2024. I'm all really glad you joined me here today because I'm here to announce the death of CEREC. It is done. It is finished. It just doesn't know it yet. And it was killed by Midas because what it can do is it can print like 3 crowns in about 8 minutes. what can your CEREC do? What can your CEREC do? How long does it take to get a CEREC out of your milled with your machine right now? Let's assume you've got the prime mill. Let's pretend you've got the great furnace that, cooks up your zirconia really quickly. It takes you way longer than that to do 3 crowns. Way longer than that. And how much does CEREC cost? I mean, the whole unit, right? I mean, if you bought the camera new and then the milling unit, you're all in, what, at like 150 grand? I mean, I might be off just a little bit. Now, it doesn't include the scanner, but the Midas cost 10 grand. Cost 10 grand. 1/15. Again, it doesn't include the scanner, but you can get a scanner for $5,000 now. So let's compare apples to oranges and throw that scanner on there at $5,000 and your Midas printer at $10,000. This is a great combo because now we're at 15 grand. It costs 1/10 of the price. I mean, it's mind-blowing. It's utterly mind-blowing, and it can do 3 crowns, and it's going to print it. The material is going to be right around $8 a crown. How much are your blocks? How much are your blocks? Like, is it like 7 times that amount, right? If I'm right, like $35 a block. So I guess my math was just off there just a little bit, but I think you get the idea. So 5 times the amount. And then you've got, the stain and glaze and throw it in the oven, and then how long would it take you to make 3 crowns? I mean, a whole lot longer than that if you're doing that with a CEREC. It is done and over with, and milling had its day, but it is done at this point in time. So I recently got their Pro 55S printer, and I've had it for about 3 weeks now. And I've printed about 30 crowns on it at this point in time. So the Midas is a little different, just so you know. It hasn't come out, like I mentioned. And that's not coming out until 4th quarter of 2024. But they already had ceramic resins. So 51% of the 51% of the material is ceramic, so it can be coated as a ceramic crown. And then you bond it in, and when you bond it in, it looks like Emax. So I was talking to some CEREC folks not too long ago, and they said, I was shocked. I thought everyone was on the zirconia train. I thought it was all like, zirconia all the time. But about 50% of people are still using Emax for CEREC crowns, which I'm fine with. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think everyone gets like caught up in the numbers game of like, flexure strength and megapascals, and you don't even, none of you studied that, and none of you care about like studying that and what does that actually mean, and is it really that great to have something that is that hard when the human tooth is nothing even close to that. I've had a CEREC for, 15 years now. So I started off with the blue cam, where we used to powder everything, and that's how long ago I started with it. And I was putting Empress on second molars. What? You were putting Empress on second molars? Yes, I was putting Empress on second molars. And everyone's so scared about doing that. And I just had a recall patient just the other day of a lady who's still coming to the office. Her Empress on her second molar was still doing just fine and hanging in there, doing all the great things. And it was really cool to see, actually. I'm just like, because there's not... When I first opened my practice and, all we had available to us was milled Empress, there's not too many patients left in my practice 15 years later that, are still coming to us that had those. But I see them on an occasion. And she was just the most recent one that I looked at and said, hey, it looks great. But everyone, you can't put Empress on second molars. Hell no, you can. Come on. But then Emax comes along and everyone gets all excited about Emax. And Emax is great. I love Emax. I still think Emax looks better than zirconia does. Some of the aesthetic zirconia looks pretty good, but it's still, Emax is better. So the only thing I can think of is that everyone got really excited about the giant, flexure strength of zirconia. I find my associates tell me, though, the thing they really like about zirconia is the fact that it's so radio opaque that it hides all the crazy crap underneath, your crowns. That's the thing that I've found from people or from talking to the associates and other docs, that they like the fact that it blocks everything out. Because some of this stuff looks crazy. When you do your build-ups, you got, I don't know, they're voids or whatever, you look at it, it just looks odd. And you just want that all just to go away on x-ray. Just show me my closed margins, show me my contacts, and obviously your occlusion's good, but you just want it blocked out and not be able to see it. Okay, well, EMAX shows that, okay? And then the ceramic resin that Sprint Ray has for their crowns it radiographs like EMAX does. So it looked like EMAX on an x-ray. Except I think you don't get the so when you mill something, you've got the burrs and it'll overmill. I mean, it literally tells you it's going to overmill the damn thing. I mean, it tells you, and that's why you have to prep it a certain way and da-da-da-da-da-da. When you print something, it doesn't overprint it. If that makes any sense. Or underprint it or whatever. It just prints. So it has a tighter fit to it. You need a whole lot less cement to do it, which means as far as when you're bonding EMAX into place, you fill it up and you go crazy with it. Man, with these crowns from Sprint Ray, I just put a tiny little bit inside, right around the margins, throw it into place, and off you go. It is an utter game changer. And so my printer that I have, it cost, I believe it cost 10 grand. So it was the Pro 55, as I mentioned. And so if you compare just that one to the CEREC system, it doesn't, so Midas is going to make one that's about a 70+% filled ceramic resin, and then mine does about 51%. So they're going to get better. And I think at the next generation of technology of resin after that, the next ceramic after that for Midas will be like the thing. And then mine, I mean, I've liked it so far. I mean, it goes into place. It looks nice. I mean, it does all the things so far. Obviously, I have no data on how it looks after its, wear characteristics and if they stay bonded, if they break. I don't know yet. I've had them, put in, what did I say, like 30 of them in the last 3 weeks or so. So we'll see long term of what it looks like. I have no doubts it's going to work out really well. You're going to have some failures. You got failures of some of your stuff already as it is. So, we'll see what it ends up looking like. But I'm printing crowns right now for $2. $2 a crown. Are you kidding me? What's a cheap lab? A cheap, like super cheap, $50, right? I mean, a lot of you are getting your crowns for $150, $175 for a crown, which, I mean, it better be immaculate work and you better be fee for service if you're doing that. Because if you're taking PPO fees and you're getting paying $150 for your crown, I mean, that ain't great, Bob. You got to be doing that differently, especially when now I can tell you can buy a $10,000 printer and print this thing for $2. Huh. What? I mean, now you're saving, $150 almost a crown. I mean, good gravy. That's that'll cut it down on a lot. I mean, what is that? I mean, every single one of your crowns. What is that? Your cell phone payment? You're probably doing at least 10 crowns a month. Am I right? That's $1,500. Shit, that's a mortgage. You go buy a house, all because you're printing your crowns versus that. But even if you're doing it, even if you're sending it out and you're getting a $50 crown, that's still a huge $48 a crown if you're doing a high enough volume. Again, I don't even know how many crowns we do. I keep meaning to count it up, and I probably should know that, but I also don't really care because it's whatever number we do is the number we do. But I'm going to be saving thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars from a reduced lab bill. As soon as I prove to these doctors and all that stuff that we should be doing more of these or do all of them milled, I mean, I'll pay for the printer in 1 month easily, if not the first 2 weeks of a month once we really go all in on it. But my point for bringing that back up is the printer that I have, it'll print dentures. So it does it in two pieces. One, it prints the base, and then you print the teeth. and then you bond the two together. It's super simple to do. Super simple to do. It'll print surgical guides. Hello? For all of you listening who are getting into implants, you can now print your surgical guide. You can design them for free. There are places to go, like Pylon. Well, you can design it for free. Their software, it's free, it's great, and I love it, and it's really nice of them to offer it for free. It's a little technique sensitive. You got to get to know how to use it, but you can go to Blue Sky Bio. You can download the STL file for $25. Then you have the specific sleeve for your implant system, and you print your guide, drop the sleeve in there right before you cure it, and off you go. So the sleeves are going to be roughly minus, my sleeves are about $8. But after you're done with it, cut the thing back out and sterilize it. You can throw that thing in the sterilizer and off you go. Drop it in another one. So the $25 for the design, and then about another $5 in printing material. So we're at, if we're just reusing the sleeves, you're at $30 now for your guide. And you can guide all your implants for $30. I mean, yes, placing guided implants is brain dead simple. It's so simple. And now you can do it for $30 if you have a printer. I mean, what if you weren't placing implants and you just heard that and you didn't just pause the recording and just go flying out the door to make sure that you've got a cone beam and you've got a printer and you didn't tell them that Steve Freeman sent you, I'll be mad at you. I mean, that's crazy. I know the cone beam's expensive, and it really doesn't matter which one you get. Just get a cone beam. Get a cone beam. It'll revolutionize your whole practice. This printer will revolutionize everything. And I want to say it's still in its infancy, but I think it's a step beyond that. I think it's still in its toddlerism. It's probably not a word, but you get the idea. I mean, it is not 1,000% ready for prime time, but it is close enough that you need to have one in your practice. Night guards, print your own night guards. Man, so what do I say about my implants? Every patient gets a night guard. Okay, so if you have Sprint Ray design them, they're $30, and then the material is like $2. So now you've got $32 invested in making a night guard for every one of your patients whom you're telling to get every single time that they get an implant. I mean, it's totally revolutionary. They have all on X material. You can print all on X material. And so the design is a little bit more. The design is like $200, and I think then you end up using up like $50 worth of material. So I think you're out the door cost for an uncharacterized. So you have to go back and actually, that you have to characterize with some stain and glaze, which there's videos on the internet to teach you how to do that. Mod Institute does a great job of that. And so you do that, but now your prosthesis, I mean, yeah, there's some money into this. Let's pretend the stain and glaze is going to cost you $50, but I think we all know it's not going to cost that much to stain and glaze one full arch bridge for all on X. I mean, it's not going to cost $50, but let's pretend it does, and we'll round and we'll say that your all-in cost now is like $300. How much are you paying your lab right now to do an all-on-X case for those of you doing all-on-X? $4,000? $4,500? $5,000? I mean, I just told you can do it for $300. And they look amazing. They look absolutely amazing. So they have space for the cylinders. They have, everything's printed for you. And just, to really get into that, there's other things that you're going to need. And I'm assuming most of you listening to this aren't really going down an all-on-X, path right now. But if you are, getting into photogrammetry, being able to use scan bodies and extraorally scan the scan bodies to tell you exactly where your implants are located, so that now you're not having to do jig verification. Those all-on-X cases are so cool until you start to do them traditionally, the traditional way of doing it. And you're just like, man, this is a lot of appointments and destroying your denture that you made to get it to fit on your day of delivery. And you're just like, I think normally we would pay like $600 for our denture that they're going to basically destroy, and then $1,200 to convert it. And I know people would do it cheaper. I didn't find anybody in my area to do it cheaper. So I was like all in at $1,800 for their immediate delivery, new denture / all-on-X bridge that we make out of acrylic. And now I can make one out of definitive material for $300. I mean, you cannot beat that. Is your CEREC going to do that? I know some of you got in lab and you can mill out your hockey puck and then you'll have all on whatever and it's made out of zirconia. There we are again, getting all excited about zirconia, thinking you need that flexure strength and da-da-da-da-da-da. And I know the hockey puck's a whole lot cheaper. So yeah, there are ways to do it, but man alive. And I know they can mill out, you have a special CEREC in order to know how to mill out your surgical guides too. This stuff is brain dead easy. SprintRay will just design all of this stuff for you. You just tell them what you want. They design it, they send it back to you, and you push print. I mean, for $10,000, or we'll call it $15,000 because you need to get a scanner if you don't have a scanner in your office, which if you don't, you need a scanner in your office. I don't care what you're doing. You need a scanner in your office. You don't need to print stuff. You don't need a CEREC. Get away from taking impressions. Your patients hate them. It costs you money. We spend more than $5,000 a month on impression material for crying out, or we did until I said stop, and then, so then you can get a scanner for $5,000. So again, 1 month I pay for it. That's it. Now we have a bunch of scanners in the office. I have them all over the place because I got hygienists scanning for night guards all over the place, especially now with the printer. Oh man. For some of these people, they come in, meet them, new patient, they do SRP, tell them they need a night guard. We have now printed a night guard while the patient's getting 4 quads of SRP and deliver their night guard at the end of that appointment. How is that for some hygiene production? Pretty nice. Pretty nice. You can print models. I don't know, some of you might really be into lab work. I really wouldn't recommend that, but you can print models. It does take a little while. It takes about 45 minutes to print a model, but it's $2. $2 to print a model. I know stone's pretty darn cheap. We used to use an expensive stone. So for us, we used the stone that was like $6, but it was all pre-mixed and came in with the special liquid. I don't even remember what it's called, but it set up a little bit faster, and that's why I overpaid for it, because I wanted the time and accuracy. But man, this thing will now print stuff out for you so quickly. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And CEREC has no chance or prayer against this. Even if they did the exact same things, if you're comparing it at $150,000 to $15,000, it's over. What rationale would you have to spend 10 times more on it? Because it's been around longer? Cool. You go do that, and you get your loan versus being able to just stroke a check for a printer and be done with it. It's so cool. And if a lot of you all like to sit on the fence and watch and wait for things to happen, and that's your choice. You can do that. Or you can start figuring it out now, make some mistakes with it. Mistakes happen, right? One of our last episodes in the podcast, mistakes happen. It's okay. Learn from it now, because this is it's so revolutionary to dentistry. It's unbelievable. And it is here, and it is ready to kick ass. And I really, really encourage you to look more into it, because it's super easy to do. It's ridiculously affordable. And that is where freedom comes from. You are going to drop your overhead and increase your profits. And that is what freedom looks like. When you can do that, and it's faster too. it is transformative, and it is exactly what the titanium practice is all about. So you need to check into it more. Tons of video on there. There's other printers out there. Maybe they're better. We got aligner material for Sprint Ray coming out at the AAO, the American Academy of Orthodontists meeting here soon. There are other printers out there. I just saw Great Lakes put out their aligner, direct print to aligner, and you can do aligners on this printer that I have, but it prints a model and then you have to do thermoform suck down on it right now. But they're going direct print to aligners later this year, but there are other companies, like I just said, Great Lakes can do direct print aligners. What's your Invisalign bill? Like $2,000 now, and you get charged. Oh, great. Refinements are included in your full case, but we're still going to charge you for shipping because they're going to squeeze every last freaking cent out of you. You can do a setup and print you can print a whole unlimited number of trays for $200. It's a tenth of the price. So get into it, learn how to do it now, so when it's truly ready for it to shine, which I think it can shine right now, but I think there's still a couple bumps in the road for it to go. Get into it now so you can learn it, so you're ready to kick ass with it as soon as it truly, truly is ready to shine, because all these other dentists are going to be sitting on the sideline. My Patterson rep covers almost all of Northeast Florida, and she said I'm the only one printing crowns right now. She said she really wanted me to get another CEREC, and I'm like, no, I want to get the printer because it can do so much more and it costs a fraction of the price. And it's faster. I mean, just an absolute bottom of the ninth, grand slam, win the World Series type of thing. Get into it. Get into printing. Next week, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about just robots taking over the world. I mean, AI, computers, it is all here. And I know you wouldn't be listening to this if you weren't into this sort of thing. So should have another fun episode for you then. But I am just about out of here. Want to remind you, please head over to titaniumpractice.com so that you can sign up for our newsletter and like and subscribe us for the podcast. But for this time and this episode, I am out of here. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye.
You've been listening to the Titanium Practice Podcast with your host, Dr. Stephen Freeman. Please hit the like and subscribe button and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Titanium Practice. Questions or comments? Send an email to info@titaniumpractice.com. Join us next time to help turn your average practice into a titanium practice.